Why can't we all just get along? Look, about 1 hour after the first human relationship was formed came the first human fight. And ever since then, men have been wondering why their woman can't just calm the fuck down and enjoy the relationship. But on a more serious note, men have been mystified since the beginning of time. Why do women pick fights? Well, it turns out it's not mysterious. It's down to very specific causes. I'm going to identify those for you. I'm also going to give you a checklist of exactly how to handle it and figure out what the hell is going on. For the sake of this video, I'm going to talk about you and your girlfriend. If you happen to have a wife instead of a girlfriend, girlfriend means wife. If you happen to have a friend with benefits instead of a girlfriend, girlfriend means friend with benefits. Okay, now that we have that out of the way, there are basically 4 main reasons why your girlfriend may be picking a fight with you. Rather than give them to you as a list though, I'm going to give them to you one at a time because I want you to address them one at a time in your head. I want you to have kind of a process of elimination so you can figure out what's going on and how to handle it in basically every situation. So the first reason she may be picking a fight with you is probably the most obvious and most easy to identify, and that is she believes you just did something wrong or offensive or something like that. And note, I did say she believes, not you did. She may or may not be right in this belief, but she believes it. And the key idea here is that it's something that just happened. It's an immediate reaction to an immediate response. And this will be easy to identify because of a few things. Number one, it probably comes on very, very quickly. Things seem totally fine, and then all of a sudden there's a sudden change in temperament. Secondly, it's quite possible you did or said something that might have been controversial or offensive. It may be very easy to target exactly what it is you said, or she thinks you said, or that she's reacting to. And this is, again, probably the most common and most obvious reason for a girl to be giving you a negative response. It's also one of the easiest to handle because it's not deeply rooted. It's some little thing, and it can often be corrected. In fact, when I'm talking about game rather than relationships, one lesson I give often is that if you say something that goes a little past the line, you can oftentimes just say, just kidding, or I'm totally fucking with you, or something like that, and immediately bring it back. Especially, you may even be able to note the sort of shift in her eyes or the change in reaction before you even finish your sentence, and actually stop the fight even before it starts. That's actually the best way to handle a fight, is stop it before it starts. So let's say you did something and she's reacting to it and now you're in some kind of a conflict. What now? Actually, the first thing you should determine is whether you actually did something wrong. Because as men, we're not perfect. You may have done or said something wrong. If that is the case, honestly, it is okay to apologize. Now, when you apologize, there is a right and a wrong way. You apologize for the thing you did. You do not apologize for your existence as a human being. So, I messed up, I shouldn't have said that, not I'm a loser, I'm an idiot, I'm beneath you, I'm sorry, Your Highness. There is a difference, there is a distinction, okay? There's a great quote from Zig Ziglar. He said, failure is an event, not a person. Well, a mistake is an event, not a person. You are not a mistake as a human being because you made one. But if you genuinely did something wrong, honestly, own it, correct it, and be done with it as fast as possible. So if you thought you were playfully teasing your girlfriend and you accidentally went way past the mark and flat out insulted her, as soon as you realize that happened, either because you note that it happened or you note her reaction and it tells you that you missed the mark, a good thing to do is apologize. However, even as you're apologizing, you want to keep the frame. Now, it is possible that while your girlfriend is insulted, you didn't actually do anything wrong. However, in that exact moment, it doesn't immediately matter. It will matter later on. The first thing to do in any case is diffuse the situation and just get out of fight mode. Once you're out of fight mode, though, you should hold your frame to some extent if you're right, and otherwise you should apologize and then hold your frame to the extent you are right. So if you are completely right, you'd be like, calm down, I did not mean it that way, I intended it this other way, you explain yourself, you know I love you, but then you hold your frame and don't just be like, I'm so sorry, and can I buy you a ton of presents, and can I sleep on the couch, and I'm a worthless human being. Don't go that far. Again, one mistake doesn't make you a bad person. If you did do something wrong, I'm sorry I did this one thing wrong, I'll make it up to you, but then it stops there. You don't continue apologizing and kissing her feet and like self-flagellating, okay? So that's the simplest, most straightforward case where there was clearly an action and a reaction, cause and effect, and you're able to identify it. When that's the case, the answer is mainly just about understanding that the relationship and you guys' love for each other matters a lot more than winning this specific fight. But on the other hand, you're still a person of value and you should stand up for yourself to some extent. So finding that balance, reacting to the immediate cause is the solution. The next common scenario I want you to think about is when the girl's reaction seems completely unrelated to what's going on and seems completely out of proportion to what's going on. For example, your girlfriend is suddenly insanely angry that you didn't take out the trash when you don't even normally take out the trash and it's never even really a problem. But for some reason, it's a problem right now. And not only is it a problem, but it's an urgent problem that's making her intensely angry. In this case, it's probably not about the trash. In this case, one of two things probably happened. Either A, you did something a while ago that you didn't notice had that reaction and she's been festering and simmering and now she's bringing it back up over some unrelated event, or somebody else in her life who's not even you did something that made her very angry and frustrated and she's bringing it up over this unrelated event. Again, the first step you need to take is to understand that the relationship matters more than the fight. You want to calm things down to a civil place where you can lovingly interact. But from there, what you want to do is you want to actually identify what's wrong. And in this case, you probably can actually just express the unusualness of the situation. You can say, look, babe, granted, I probably should have taken the trash out, but that's not something I normally do, and that's normally not this big of a deal for you. So is there something else besides the trash that I should know about? Like, did I do something else that offends you? Did you have a tough day at work, etc.? And try and listen and be understanding. And oftentimes, the thing that she's getting upset about will be something you did wrong. So you can certainly apologize for it, but that is 1/100th of the blow up, and so it's not the real problem. So the key thing here is to identify the real problem. And the key thing as a solution really is communication. So step one, calm things down to a more normal level, because nothing gets solved when you're yelling at each other and things just escalate. So first, de-escalate the situation. Second, be real about it, right? This seems out of character for you. Normally you wouldn't be so upset by this. Is there something else going on? And then be prepared to listen. And sometimes she may be a little out of sorts and over the top again, and be calm, understand and say, okay, I get that. You still seem a little more angry than usual. Is that really what's going on? And actually listen, let her vent, try and get to the root cause. Most of the time, the fact that you're listening and the fact you're being calm will solve a lot of the situation. And if and when you do get to the root cause and she gets to talk about it, that almost always is going to solve things. So let's say that we've eliminated these two possible causes. First of all, you didn't do something that immediately triggered a reaction as far as you can identify. Secondly, you're trying to calm your girlfriend down. You're trying to get at the underlying cause. That doesn't seem to be working. And in fact, she doesn't really even seem to want to reconcile. She seems to want to be angry right now. She seems to be actively trying to provoke more, or even she's being actively nasty to you in response to your attempts to calm things down, your attempts to listen, etc. Well, this may be an indication of something a little more deep-seated in the relationship. And there are two different versions it could be from here. One is due to a value problem in the relationship. One is due to a comfort problem in the relationship. So let's first assume you're a high value guy and have a generally healthy relationship up to this point. Most likely, your first place you should look is the comfort issue. If you've been particularly busy, you've been away from your girlfriend, you haven't given her enough attention recently, oftentimes girls will act out because they want attention. This is similar in some ways to how children will misbehave just to get attention from their parents, and they don't seem to care much whether it's positive or negative attention, because any attention makes them feel validated. Any attention makes them feel loved, appreciated, and paid attention to. So if you have not been paying enough attention to your girl in general, sometimes she'll act out just to see if you pay attention. Sometimes the girl will actually pick a fight just to see if you will put in enough time, attention, energy to have a fight with her. And so when this happens, you should look at this as a cry for attention. And that does not mean you want to reward the bad behavior. You do want to understand, hey babe, this is not an appropriate way to be. You're being very rude. This is not whatever. You need to stand up for yourself. You need to handle it because she is being inappropriate. She is being wrong. She is violating your boundaries. However, you also should understand that you do have the fault of not paying enough attention to her, which is something you should acknowledge while holding your ground. You should give her some attention and time during the fight and during the resolution to the fight. And maybe as important as all of this, you should note that if she is picking fights with you because of not getting enough attention, at times when you're not fighting, i.e. after the fight, try to find a little more time with her. try to take a little time out of your workday to give her a quick call. Try to maybe do some thoughtful little thing for her. Not right then as she's fighting with you, though. You do not reward the bad behavior in the moment, but you do understand the root cause and solve the problem in a way that's not reactive. Then finally, worst case scenario. A girl seems to be picking fights with you for no explicable reason. They seem to come out of nowhere, and during the fights, she seems to be exceptionally nasty, and she seems to want the fight to continue. What's happening there? Well, this is happening oftentimes because the relationship has begun to erode, because you now have a value issue in the relationship. When a girl sees you as very high value and prioritizes keeping you, keeping your love, keeping your affection, keeping the relationship above all else, she will not pick fights over little things. In fact, oftentimes she will tiptoe around to be extra nice to you to avoid fights. And if there are fights, she will back down very quickly because she doesn't want to lose you. But if she starts to feel disdain for you, and that is basically the hallmark of an eroding relationship, is when the partners start to feel disdain for each other. If she starts to feel some disdain for you, she may pick more fights. And this can be for a few different reasons, depending how severe the problem is. At a low level, it could be just a test to see if you really actually have value. It's kind of akin to when you first met the girl, she gave you shit tests to see if you're the real deal. While you're with her, may give you shit tests to see if you are still the real deal, especially if you've become not the same guy you were when you met her. Like, let's say you, when you met her, were ambitious and a go-getter and in the gym, doing a good job in bed and all things like that, and now you've let those areas slide, you've neglected them, you're not the same alpha level guy around her that you once were. She may test you, and she wants you to pass those shit tests to reaffirm that you're a high value guy and worthy of her attention and affection. Before that happens, what you want to do is two things. Number one, pass these initial shit tests. And number two, understand the reasons why. So if you are getting this nasty shit testy behavior from your girlfriend, where she's not treating you with the respect she used to, number one, yes, pass the shit test. And all the same rules apply. Hold your frame, but stay lighthearted, stay fun, don't get too into it, and don't let things escalate. But also understand the underlying reasons for the shit test. Look introspectively, think, what have I been lacking in this relationship? Have I been less of a good boyfriend than I used to be? Am I not providing for her needs in the same way that I once was? Am I not being the same man in front of her that I once was? Did she date me and meet me when I was acting as a winner, and now I'm acting as less of a winner? Was my life situation better than it is now? Are there things I can do to correct that short-term or long-term, and also correct her experience of being with me with regards to that? So in short, when you're getting these nasty relationship shit tests, pass them, but also take them as an alarm bell. Take them as a wake-up call to handle the underlying problem. Now, I do want to add another point to this video, which is that some girls are far more prone to fighting than others, and far more prone to severity in their fights than others. And that can be a personal trait of the girl. You know, in the words of Chris Rock, whatever happened to crazy? Some girls are just crazy, right? Now, I do agree to some extent. There are girls that are far more volatile than others. However, I want to make a distinction. This isn't the reason for the fight, her being crazy or her being volatile, but this will massively impact the severity of the fight and the nature of the fight and how she handles herself during a fight. So different girls will handle fights very differently, will act differently during fights, and will be more easily triggered by these factors to fights. But I would look at this, if you know chemistry, I'd look at this as a catalyst for a fight rather than the cause of the fight, right? And so in chemistry, you have two things that are going to react, and you have a third thing that when you bring it in, it makes the reaction faster or more explosive. So the girl's personality can contribute significantly to making the fight more explosive or more easily triggered. And that's definitely a thing, but the underlying causes and reasons of the fight still are the same. Final little comment, and this is an asterisk on the checklist. There are some girls that are just psycho. It is possible, but that should be your last resort in coming to grips with these situations. You shouldn't just go to, wow, that girl's just flat out crazy and it's not my fault. That should be the last ditch. I have had this happen, okay? I had a girl who I hooked up with multiple times once break up with me for something that I never said or did that she was just fully convinced had happened. She had this whole scenario in her head she thought had happened that was just completely divorced from reality. I left, I was happy to be out of that situation, and I was done with it. This is possible, but that is not the most likely scenario, and you should not default to she's just crazy. That should be the last answer in the hierarchy. So hopefully this helps to make some of the reasons why fights are occurring more explicable to you. Some of those early ones, i.e. you did something wrong, she's offended, you probably were aware that was a possibility. But some of these other ones, like the delayed reactions or like the value and comfort issues, may not have been things you're aware of. And now that you are aware of them, you have some more tools to handle them. Hopefully, this allows you to smooth out your relationships, to be more loving, more caring, and more positive with your partner. It is also possible with certain partners you're just not compatible, or you have poor interactions, or you are toxic for each other. That is possible, but you would be surprised how often you can fix it. So try and fix it first, and then if it really is bad, if you've done all the proper work, if you've done what you can, and you realize it's not fixable, you can walk away with a clear conscience and be happy that you got out of a relationship that's not good for you and made yourself available for a better one down the road.